Yeah. So let's start with a question or two. After all that, now you're ready. Yes, ma'am.
What's the cleanest eye you've ever seen?
Yours?
No.
The cleanest eye
Yeah,
I've
like
ever
you would-
seen.
Yeah, like I'm presuming it would be a newborn, or is there? What does it look like?
I always like to go to clean first and work my way backwards. So what that means is, it's like going into the cathedral. I like to go into that place with that person with a reverent feeling of this divine perfection first. That's the first place I like to go with any person's iris, is to go to a place to first appreciate and respect and do my best to feel that divine perfection first. So you asked me, what's the cleanest eye I've ever seen? To me, that's all of them first. The divine perfection first. And then it's like, okay, now, subsequent to that divine perfection is the formation of the iris that was acquired at the point of conception. So for me, at the point of conception, all of the ancestral memories, they arrive like a big bang, and it creates the iris. And then gradually over a period of time, that iris goes through specific stages of formation, and those stages of formation are now reflected in the constitutional structure. And in newborn infants, certain patterns are there at birth, and some patterns are acquired from 2 until about 8. Somewhere around age 8, right around 8, the door mysteriously closes. I've often wondered why. I have a lot of questions. I don't understand exactly why up until the age of 8 there is like a fluid, dynamic mind. It's a flowing experience. Children have a lucid way of being in the world which is more alive, and then mysteriously somehow it begins to close, and oddly enough it closes quite sharply right around the age of 8. Then there is a different element of the experience after the age of 8. So I understand more about it now, because when I look at the diagram of the times of the day, that time of the day also relates to a sequence of years, and that sunrise is right at 8 years in the map. I'll show you what that means. So somewhere around 8, they go from living in the interior world of feeling-oriented open innocence, and it comes right into the closure because it produces a different kind of response to the body and the brain, and they begin to move into the world and rapidly begins to close. That door closes quite firmly by the age of 16, and I think the only way that a person is accessible after the age of 16 is through personal responsibility. Yes, ma'am?
I was just thinking, that correlates a large chunks of adults. It's 3, 4, 3 to 7. So then I'm wondering if this correlates to the development of large chunks.
No, I cannot speak with authority about chakras because I've not seen any. I've heard about them. I respect that they do exist. I have a feeling about them. But what I have found is I feel more and experience more if I focus my attention in my body. So for me, on the physical level, the correspondence to chakras would be a series of glands that go up the middle of the body. So at each one of the 6 steps in this ladder, there are glands. So I found greater success for me by going inside and asking to be shown these individual feelings that exist in this location. When I go to the, when I attempt to go to the chakra level, it actually takes me out of my body and I lose the capacity to experience it. So from my own experience, I have a tendency not to go there because the times I've gone, I lose myself. So I focus, I want to feel more in this place. That's only me. That's just my experience. Peter?
From my experience, the brain waves of a child change around the age of 7 or 8. In the first 6 to 8 years, the alpha brain wave associated with creativity and joy of life and sparkle tends to be the dominant brain rhythm, and around about the age of 7 or 8, the beta level comes in and becomes the more dominant brain rhythm. And I thought it was interesting that might have a correspondence to the formation of the iris or the closing of the gate, as you mentioned.
I don't know. Perhaps it does. Yes.
Have you looked at eyes of disabled people, intellectually disabled people?
I have looked at a wide variety of disabled types of many different forms. Physical, mental disabled. I've had the opportunity to go into various forms of homes for crippled people and into psychiatric locations, and I've had some challenging experiences with it. I wish I knew then more about what I know now about divine truth. I worked with for 3 years, a group of doctors in Sweden, and we were examining these deformed infants. And we were looking for not only why, by looking at the structure of the eye as a possible way of determining how and why, but we're also beginning to test non-intervention forms of therapy, such as touch, some forms of words, like I would have the parents speak to them while touching, and we tried a series of things like this and actually learned to get physical reactions sufficient to be able to bring some kids out of structural deformity. But we didn't get their minds back, which was a tragic thing for me. And what I found out was that the certain elements of the mind work really well with stimulation through stories. So I began to evolve a system of fairy tales for children with challenges. So all it is a sequence of story-like symbols designed to bring a circulation of attention into different lines of the family tree in an effort to be able to circulate attention and feeling. And that is the primary instrument for children I prefer today. My primary suggestion for anybody with children is stories. Stories, prayer, and touch. Children, particularly under the age of 8, I recommend stories every night. Stories, prayer, touch. Those are the 3 primary ones that seem to have the greatest capacity to be able to assist our children. Yes?
Thank you.
Have you witnessed some of his eye changing as a result of deep self-healing, relationship with God growing?
Have I seen anybody's eyes change, regardless of the modality, the efforts? No. No, I haven't. Much past the age of 7, 8, or 9, I see very little changes at all. And we've had circumstances, intended and not intended, where some friends of mine who had their eyes photographed would have I guess it wasn't intended, or it was intended actually. They had a traffic accident, broke arms or legs, and we would photograph them the next day, hoping to see differences in the structure of the eye, a whole series of different tragic experiences from diseases or whatever after. I've not photographed changes in the iris as a result of any form of accident, disease, or effort, or any form of therapy or tool or device. I've not. I've seen some color changes, some overall color changes as people go into a more positive lifestyle. The overall color can clear out, but as far as the constitutional structure, no. I have photographed only one time an individual brown spot being formed. It actually formed in 1 year, but that was the only time. But I've not ever seen one leave. And I've done many different forms of therapeutic intervention in my efforts to be able to do this. However, my feeling now, obviously, which I think you might agree, is that it was not getting to the causal feelings, right? We can get to the level of being able to make many forms of therapeutic intervention, get physical changes, other things, but we're not really getting to the core level of the soul. So now my heartfelt interest is to get to that level, feel it, embody it, be able to explain it, and then show that it's possible. You had a question?
About the age of 8 years old, do you feel that the impact of traumatic events before 8 years old, like profound trauma, can suspend when a person actually embraces the next? So I'm asking you about like the impact of trauma, and is the age of 8 years old like a metaphorical type term, or is it a fixed point from your experience?
For me, at this stage of my understanding, and please allow me to keep increasing that, anything that comes did not begin in this experience. I mean by that, I mean it didn't begin subsequent to birth. The formation of the causal memory that creates the opportunity for creating physical symptoms and diseases began at conception and will manifest according to a very precise calendar, according to what it is, where it comes. And I'm more interested in understanding the calendar, but I'm also interested in how it originally got there, how to return to it, feel it, release it, and restore the general perfection of the soul.
So what you're saying is that we're the sum total of our ancestral
experience, as well as what we are actually experiencing in our personal journey. Is that right?
Yes, and I can't give you an exact percentage, but I would probably say 97.5. By that,
Ancestral journey.
the effect of the causal memories that arrive at conception are intense. And the magnitude of the ancestral memory that we have received from our family tree is so profound that it's really beyond our capacity to fully embody it, because if we did, we probably wouldn't survive the feeling of it.
You know what I get from that? I get a feeling of personal responsibility in having experienced the divine truth and having had the opportunity to understand how to receive divine love. If what you say is true, you know, like universally true, not just your experience, then that's like a big personal responsibility in that we can come to understand the ancestral journey, if you like, as well as our own. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I really appreciate my mother and my father for giving me what they gave me. You know, I've gone through my phases of holding them responsible for all of the pain, suffering. And, I'm not done. I've got a ways to go with it, and I appreciate that. And through them, I receive the unresolved pain and suffering and patterns and addictions and diseases of my entire family tree. So I appreciate that. I'm grateful for all that. And I'm also eternally thankful for the divine plan that allows me to experience it, feel it, clear it, and increase my elasticity of love. So by being able to experience it, I trust that we will all gain a greater capacity to grow. Yes. Yes.
Do you get all of the damage from both your parents, from mother and father, or is it like half your damage sort of comes from one and half from the other? Wouldn't it be a double up effect if you kept getting all the damage from both parents?
Yes. I believe that we get vast amounts of damage from both parents. And I don't always know, for example, if I take 6 children in a row and I build a wall map of their irises with their mother and father and grandparents, which I've done before, there are some interesting things that come into play. For example, all children in the same family get the same 33,000 genes from their ancestors, their parents, right? And then after that, they open up different parts of it to form the different body, eye structure, personality types. So do we actually open up all of the causal feeling from our entire family tree for us to deal with? I'm not sure. But individual brothers and sisters, they open up specific areas more. So they open up more at one birth order position than they do other birth order positions. Do I understand why that happens? No, I really don't. But I mapped out that individual children seem to open up the gene codes from different sides of the family, and the influence from the mother or the father's side for certain children is stronger. But did they receive all of them? Yes, I believe they did, and they will transfer that to 3 more generations. You know, to be honest with you, I've been at this a long time, and I'm just a puppy. I'm just beginning to even feel what this is like. So please be patient with me.
So after all your years of studying, what do you feel are the most profound insights you've had about the connection between the iris and the soul? The biggest things that you've come to realise, what would they be?
One of the easy questions. You can
That's a typical Peter question.
You can answer that one for me, huh? Yes, dear.
Can I maybe prompt an answer from you?
Yes.
I'm starting to get an insight and slowly beginning to learn about the layers that we see in the iris and how the essence of us, our soul, is the layer that we're born with, and then we get the second layer coming in when our damage from our parents starts to appear in the eyes, you know, later on between the ages of 2 and 8. So that's sort of like the wounded self layer, and then the third layer appears to be more about what we choose to do with, you know, as a result of those wounds and that damage. So more like the facade layer. Like what we saw with Raj the other day, it's perhaps possible for that facade layer to start kind of clearing and revealing the damage underneath. So, yeah, I wondered whether you could perhaps speak about your experience of that and how you see that.
Her question is, her observation, and it's correct, is that the iris forms in a series of layers. For me, the iris forms in a series of layers outward toward you, and because there are layers that are deeper and then they actually form on top, but they also form from inside out. So there's an inside out and there's a forward process in this. Before we get into too much of that, I'd like to share with you another experience to answer your question about what is some of the most profound experiences about the eye I've experienced. And I'm gonna share with you an experience. I reached a point with building wall maps of families, trying to understand the sequence of the formation of the layers, trying to get the irises of grandparents and, you know, mother and father and the kids, and as soon as possible the little ones, to see, you know, where it comes from, what it's about, what does it do, how does it get here. And it was a frustrating experience, and then I decided to go back to where the source is, and sometimes I forget. Yo, God. Sorry, it's a personal thing. I like to have a personal relationship with God, to be able to talk to Him anytime I want, any way I want, any mood, feeling. I want to be able to be myself with God. So if I have a frustration, a feeling, a desire, a wish, a moan, a complaint, I go there first. I like to remember to go there first. So I said to God, look, I want to know, please, I really want to know, what is the relationship between the structure of the eye and the structure of the family, and the structure of the lessons of the soul that you saw in the times of the day? I want to know, how does this flow? How does this work? So I asked every day for about 4 years. And I'm patient. I'm still learning the patience. One night I am in a prayer moment, and my eyes are closed, and I'm asking. Well, my inner vision opened, as clear as day, and from one side there came 6 sparkling white lights, very brilliantly radiant white lights in a vertical line. I knew instantly that these were 6 brothers, from the oldest to the youngest. And then from the other side came 6 more sparkling white lights that were equally luminous, and I knew right away that it was 6 sisters, from the oldest to the youngest. And these 6 brothers and these 6 sisters, they came closer together, and they reached out for each other, and they started to turn like a ladder turning. And the moment I thought DNA, my, well, head, body, being exploded. And I went into an infinite ocean of wet white cream. A very sweet cream. My entire body, being was immersed into this radiantly beautiful ocean of pure love. In this experience, I got the opportunity to see all of the sequences inside the body. I got to see things that I could not grasp or comprehend. The problem was, it was so utterly, totally intense, I just went into convulsive sobbing, and I couldn't stop. And the result of that was I could remember nothing. So when I came out of that experience, I'm very grateful for it. I'm eternally grateful for it. I would have it every day if I could. Gradually, and this is how I feel now. I feel slightly dumb and blind and deaf, and you know, I can't feel, I can't see. Not like that. And so when I started to wait and look, slowly it started to come back. 6 boys, 6 girls. 10 years of examining family structures, kids, praying for more. Gradually the meaning of them becomes more sensitive and more real. So now inside me I have 6 masculine experiences and 6 feminine experiences, and they're all inside my 12 glands, organs, body system, cranial nerves, and so on, meridians. So the experience I had, which is gradually coming back to me, is a powerful, profound experience. I shared this experience with AJ and Mary. You can ask them about it if you wish. For me, it was one of the most profound ways of having the confirmation. Ask. Ask. Show me. Teach me. I want to know this. About this. Preciousness. So I would like to show you a very poor rendition of this model. Yes, sir.
How were you able to apply that experience to your own journey? Were you able to? Like did you suddenly realise, these 6 masculine qualities, was there a point of recognition? Or was it like an experience that didn't have any grounding in your personal life?
It means everything to me in every moment. It's the only thing I like to do. These 12 are like 12 different structures of iris. You remember how you saw the different iris types have different nozzles, right? These are 12 different spray patterns of life force. These 12 are essentially aligned to the times of the day. So the primary one that begins at midnight, and oh, by the way, none of this comes from anywhere else. Just so you realize that I don't learn most things from some other book, model, form. I like to have an experience of it. These first 3, they are the 3 primary experiences related to the time before sunrise. At sunrise, there are 3 more. And then at midday, there are 6 as the sun goes down. These 6, there are these relate to 6 qualities or forces of masculinity. For me, these represent 6 divine aspects of God as the masculine force, God as the feminine experience, and these come down and the other ones go up. These relate to all of the months of the year, all the phases of the moon, all the color frequencies, well, everything. All related to one different pattern. This one was the one that I'm still practicing, learning, and experiencing, because it is the one related to the breath, opens the first gate, and the lesson that this first son teaches his parents is about humility. This is humility, imagination, softness, and for me, one of the symbols in nature is a blade of grass. Because it's soft and tender and delicate, you can walk on it, it yields. But if I want to learn anything, I want to learn this one first. And this is what I've been studying for 10 years before I got into the truth through AJ. The second one is about clarity. I used to call it clarity or discovery. It is about the desire to understand. It's about the love of truth. This is a quality which is the, many of those who have those little brown dot types, their little nozzles go like this. They're always looking for some kind of variation of truth. They want to understand, to recognize, to pierce, to enter into, to realize. That's truth. The third one for me, I used to call it free will, and now I call it desire. That word, I mean, free will, the capacity to be able to make a decision about all of the infinite possibilities of knowledge, the infinite possibilities of truth, to be able to decide which one I want to receive. So, for me, if I choose, I want to know, I want to feel, I want to understand, I want to recognize who I am, what I am, How does it work? What do I have to be able to feel to receive the answer? So if I ask about something, I try to keep asking and asking and asking and asking. Once is not enough for me. If it was, it would work easier for me. Once that decision is made, it comes three more forces. And the first force is the force of the experience of the passion. I used to call this the life purpose. What is your life purpose? Which means, what are you really good at? What can you do? What can you take in the world? What is your individual ability to be able to create something that is a natural attribute of your own soul? What is the truth about my own passion? That one for me is fire in the belly. This creates the capacity to move. It creates the capacity to move my blood. It also relates to the capacity of learning how to have emotional control of my tendency to project damage toward anyone else through anger. So it's a powerful lesson to regulate the experience of the fire in my own belly. The second fire is the fire in the chest, and that relates to the experience of the group dynamic fire, and that group dynamic fire is something I'm learning to do with you. I have a long ways to go on this. I'm practicing, so please be patient with me. I'm practicing to love you. It sounds easy, right? To learn to actually love another person. This is not easy. This is the place about love one another. That's for me is fire in the heart, the joy, the laughter, the play, the celebration, the prosperity, the gladness. That's fire in the heart. These 6 forces of masculinity, and there are 6 more forces of the femininity. Each one of these is a different iris type. Let me just pause there and give you a moment. Is this too far out? Yes, dear.
I'm not totally understanding. So, like, all of us, each one of us will fit more into one of those categories.
Everybody usually has a combination of these characteristics and traits. Everybody has a combination of different layers of density in the iris, a different tendency for concentration that's nearer the pupil or further away. So all of us have all of these variations, but you have all 12 of these. But you have a tendency to use some of them the most. For me, that's the structure of the iris. You have a tendency to have 1 or 2 of them active all the time, and the need to be able to learn to open the other ones. Yes, dear.
How does that relate to the time of day?
Precisely?
Oh, sorry, I'm a scientist. So yes.
She is fun. I'm always careful. If I believe I begin to understand something, I stop. Because I found that sometimes I believe I understand something, it starts forming a shell. So, say to you how that each moment of the day is a cycle, and how this cycle of the day is cycling through my system. This cycle over 24 hours is creating a gate-by-gate opening whereby the life force of my experience is circulating in different levels. For me, this circulates channels of life force through my spiritual body and my physical body. And the result of how this circulates through the topography of my spiritual body and physical body produces the symptoms and attractions that we would identify as the law of attraction. So it is far more precise than I am. And I don't understand it well enough to tell any other scientist exactly how a specific hour of the day will relate to a specific gland, or a specific meridian, or any other lesson, or how this is age 8, and oops, excuse me, this is 8, this is 16, 25 is always a nice one, 32, 48, 64. How does the time of the day relate to the season of the year? How does the time of the day and the season of the year relate to different stages of life where we have different hormonal development? I don't know. This time period here, for me, is the spring of life, under 16. And then somewhere magically around 16, the summer of life comes. Do you remember this time? No, you don't? No, you don't remember hormones and hormones and hormones? You don't remember dancing and moving and staying up all night and wanting to kiss and play and laugh and no, you don't remember this fire-oriented summer where I just feel like I have to go and I'm immortal?
Yeah.
You don't remember that time?
No, I remember that.
That's the summer season here. It is each one of these phases has different glandular brain-body stimulation functions that produce the normal symptoms of everyday living, right? Then there's that stage around 30 to 32 where, you know, I'm a professional, I know everything, I understand everything, I'm good at my job, and there's only me. And everybody should eat apricots. Apricots?
Yeah.
I've never used that one, by the way. Uses the people here that they have a family, it's my way, this is a very firm, solid, family-oriented time. When you're down here, you can eat 5 meals a day and not gain weight, right? Remember that? Over here, you eat like a bird and you gain weight. It's a different hormonal time. And then the last phase is winter, when the white comes on the mountain. Oh, you didn't read this in your science book. None of this is in your science book? Oh my goodness. I guess I'm wrong. Okay. So these phases are very important because they open up different emotional experiences, but they also tell me if somebody has a disease that arrives at 19 or 42, I can kind of go to a map and probably estimate whereabouts in the family tree it came from. Because if you look at this map, this is the 6 grandparents from your father's side, this is the 6 grandparents from your mother's side, and these 12 lines of energy that run into you, they make up everything in the 12 body systems, glands, organs, brains, nerves, meridians, and other systems that science has not yet discovered, thankfully. Okay? So what I like to do is to take any experience or symptom that a person or a child has and try to relate to what kind of memory it is related to. How does all this relate to the iris? Perfectly. Because every one of those is in the iris and it's in here. So by the time I look at the iris, I'm looking at levels 1 through 6, right? And every one of the positions in the iris, and I'll give you the basic map so you can look at your own eye and be able to say, ah, that's probably in the area about here, or this one's probably down here or up here. Really didn't answer your question at all, did it? Now, how does this relate to the science?
No, well, it was the times of the day. I get the different layers in the iris, and we have to have different maps, and that's like our personality and our soul traits. But I just don't quite get how that, like, and I get the different stages of life and how that freeze up, certain patterns. I just don't get how that relates to the times of the day.
So you're not quite sure how the mineral kingdom feeds the plant kingdom that feeds the animal kingdom that uses water?
I get that.
You are.
But it's just not how it relates to the iris and what time of day it is.
It's the identical pattern.
Alright.
Okay, let me just take this a little further. These three here are very related to 1, 3, and 5. These three areas are directly related to correspondences in nature. For me, everything that exists somewhere inside me is mirrored in some way by the experience of nature around me. I have this link. I'm not nature, but I have a link reflecting nature. So if I relate to earth and air, fire and water, metal and wood, these qualities inside me related to my glands and organs, they are directly related to my relationship to nature. Yes, sir.
Denny, 135. Are they related to the glands?
The
You know,
numbers.
135, 246.
Yes,
So you
all
said
of
the
these
different
are related
levels.
to glands.
They're all bilobes at one.
Yes, if you go in the numbers, 1, 6, in every place there are 2 glands. 2 glands, 2, 2, 2, all the way down, 2.
Pineal isn't double.
Pardon me?
Pineal or
The
pineal
pineal.
is singular, it's not bilobes, is it?
That's correct.
So that's an exception.
No. There's another gland. The sun and the moon.
But on its own, it's not by 2 lobes.
Play with the pineal.
No, I do want to.
Oh, yes.
I do. I absolutely do.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It's my favorite of all glands in the moment. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Confused with the 2 different time scales. You've got one time scale of years, 8, 16, 25, 32, and yet you've got a 24-hour time scale from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. I can't see how those 2 time scales reconcile.
The remarkable thing about this is the timeline of everything.
Our life.
Everything is everything. So this timeline of everything, for me, is the experience of a single day, a single month, all the phases of the moon, all the seasons of the year, all the stages of life, up to 64. To me, this is infancy. That this is infancy for 64 years. So if I inhale, exhale, I've done 1 cycle. That there's always 1 cycle. Now, I don't remember this. The magnitude of the original experience vastly exceeds my capacity to feel it or even begin to distribute it. But this is the best I can do. All I can say is that each one of these is a beautiful spiraling link of how life force circulates. For me, that's why I wanted to know, are all the irises in some way related to experiences in nature? Yes. Do we have irises that are more like the air, or irises that are more like diamonds? Yes. Do we have irises that are more like flowers or lakes or snow falling? Yes. Do we have irises that have the capacity to touch? And do we have irises that have the capacity to move? Yes, all of the experiences of movement and play and laughter and body types and relationship attraction, they're all there. Yes, sir.
I understand that those 12 symbols you have up constitute every unique iris. So every iris has a combination, or permutation of those 12 elements. Is there also some type of clustering, perhaps like archetypal clustering, that there'd be 12 general types?
Yes. For me, it's also, okay, God, help me. Help me feel you with my breath. Help me feel you. That's number one for me. And we could stay there for a long time because I've been intellectually or otherwise examining. And maybe that's my way. I need to understand and penetrate. I need to go there and I want to understand it. I want to know the truth about that. Got that? I want to. So I was going through different kinds of exercises just for number one. I spent months, years examining what does it mean, and what does humility really mean anyway? How do I know what humility is? I don't know. I mean, AJ showed me that because when I saw the video, for the first time I had humility. I mean, that, honestly, I'm grieved to tell you that, to recognize that in that moment I was touched with it. So even now, how do I keep that open? How do I feel it? What does it actually feel like? And I want to avoid in the aspect that I'm in control of my humility. I'd rather give it away. Show me humility from your perspective. And then, now it's time to go to work, right? It's time to work with it from there, okay? Now I've laid down what I want, now I want to go to work. And then it's like, here comes your opportunity to learn it. Which, you know, many times I've utterly not done well with it. Right? In moments where I could just be open and humble and receptive, I fail on a daily basis. Questions? Yes, ma'am. Whatever. I'm just, you know what I have to avoid, which I learned, is sometimes I have to, this is my, because I spent years practicing these to produce greater joy, sensitivity, love, practice. And what I had tragically, after many years, was my entire cathedral of natural love fell apart, destroyed by a single drop of unresolved feeling. So now I'm a little bit more careful about feeling good. You know? So I'm not in pursuit of the honey jar, right? I like to see the honey jar, but then I like, okay, wait, let's just get back and let's remember that it's about the experience of receiving divine love, not the love that I want to make. How do you explain this in Portuguese? It's not easy, honestly. Other questions? Yes.
You mentioned when you were looking at the characteristics of the different stages and triangles that number 4 was like the desire to have that fire in the heart and to give love. What was number 6?
I'm on 4. Come here. Would you please? May I? Oh.
Was that a number 4?
This is a number 4. This is number 4. The body type is number 6, by the way. Number 6 is usually the tallest, the highest. You know, they have lessons to learn about, okay, Sit down for a second. Ooh. Okay, wait, I'm still on 4. 4 is joy, brotherhood, celebration. It's like, hi, let's go sing, right? Let's sing, joy, laughter, play. Let's dance. Let's take the prosperity of the gold and just throw it, right? Let's just, right? Celebrate abundance and yes, to me that's fire in the heart. And I actually like this place even more because AJ often talks about, you know, when the spirits are really beautiful, they're age 25. Aha! Age 25 is right in the middle of the heart. Right? This joy-like immortality that the young people feel when they want to drive their cars fast and they want to expand and explore and kiss and run and jump and dance. And surely some of you still feel that way. No, you don't. I'm going to have to talk about this because the practice of it is the experience of it, right? So the celebration of being able to go, brother, come run with me. Let's run. So I often have consultations for children. Depending on the age, I usually ask them this question, but I had, last week before I left, I had these teenagers that came to the farm. They were 19 to 24, you know, and they all brought their instruments and they'd play and sing for a while, and then we come and talk about divine love, right? And it's like it's a wonderfully beautiful opportunity to help them know themselves at that age and understand that the music and the joy and the laughter that they naturally feel is part of their relationship to God. So that's the time to be able to do it. And then I ask them this question. Well, I'm asking you this question, by the way. If we make you king of the world, by the way, which happens to be number 6, I'll give you another explanation another time. What is your first command? If we make you king of the world and everybody here is going to obey your first command, what is your first command? I love to do this with little 4-year-olds. If we make you king of the world, and I have, by the way, I love doing it. If we make you king of the world, what is your first command?
Eat bowl of chocolate.
And you get the widest variety of answers. That's a wonderful answer, but I think there might be a higher one. You know, you don't like put it down. You're like, oh, peas, candy, toys. Right?
I would say love yourself so that you can love others.
And usually, just to speed this up, I go, oh, by the way, do you know the first commandment?
Love yourself.
That's all we need.
Love God. That's right.
God. Seek first. Right? What's the first commandment? God. Okay, that's all. Done. So when somebody has this capacity for fire in the belly, fire in the chest, fire in the head, and they have this capacity for authority and oh, by the way, where are you going? What do you really want? What is the most important thing to you ever? If you've got fire in your belly and it's and it's, what do you want? I love to do that. Other easy questions. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't the answer to that question
Usually what you feel you have the least of? So if you were to ask me that question, I would answer love. But that's what I feel is, or has been, expressions of love the most efficient in my life. So wouldn't the answer to your question be naturally what you feel you're most efficient at or have received?
The only answer there is your answer. That's all there is. It's the only answer there is. Because really, whatever you want the answer to be is what the answer is. You have the right to have that answer to be anything you want it to be. Other questions? Yes, sir.
When you're experiencing the number 6, it seems like it's time to go back to number 1 and have humility.
You got that, did you? Right? So let's see. So you're going all the way up, and you're at 6, and you're either I am God. Ah! I just got an email. Well, it's been a couple of weeks now from my 22-year-old son. He's right at that time period, you know, and he's I don't know where well, anyway, he got the Saint Germain stuff, and he goes, Dad, I'm God, we're all God, everything is God. I just had to laugh. I go, yes, son, I remember that time. Okay, for me, he's on the right track, right? Okay, let him be there, let him feel it, let him celebrate it, let him be there, you know, in every I go, okay, son, when you're ready, you know, I'm Dad, and I'm just here, but if you want my help, you just ask. You rub back a week later and go, okay, Dad, I'm ready. Questions? Yes, dear.
How does this relate to the spheres? So we mentioned that a bit the last few days.
The question was, how does this relate to spheres? I never, spheres. Spheres. Me, I always use it as levels. I think spheres is more accurate, but levels is, well, 1 to 6. Okay, what is the primary lesson at 1? For me, it's 1 and 1, so I just give you my version of it. The primary lesson for me is number 1, Son. The primary lesson is for me to open myself to an individual relationship to God. I am God's son and He is my Father, and I'm really glad, and now let's go to work. Right? To me, that's number 1. At the same time, number 1 has to do with my entry through the gauntlet of my family tree. It's about birth. It's how to survive the experience of my family, survival. How to survive your family. If you really survive your family, then you're doing well. Because quite frankly, most of the time your family ends up killing you. It's called your genetic information. That's your unresolved feelings that accumulate and cause suffocation of the spiritual body, the physical body, and, well, it's your own feelings, right? So what is this about? For me, it's about my individuality. It's my willingness to accept the responsibility of being individual, born in the world, and the beginning of my awareness requires my individuality to survive. I'm first alone, and I have to go through the experience of feeling. The first level, the second level is about water and fire. I've got fire about my own individuality, finding a way in the world. That's called my passion. The other side is peace. The only way to go from level 1 to level 2 is to find peace. Peace is the resolution of fear. You see, I would like to talk a little more to AJ, because I just do what I do. And am I sensitive to what I'm doing? And am I sensitive to the potential damage that can be taught? Yes. So at times I just quit. And then something comes and I got to start working again. So if you ask me, these 6 levels, level 3 is about truth, harmony, justice, equilibrium, firmness. 3 and 3. What happens at 3? Those things relative to the pancreas, things that destroy the pancreas, treachery, deceit, lies, jealousy, things that damage the pancreas, the control of other people. This is a powerful place, the pancreas. On the other side, anger, hurt, frustration, hatred. And this place in here, what destroys health? What destroys justice? These places here are very powerful. This whole place at 3 and 4 is all about social relationships. Everything below this is really about my relationship to God and my family. So first, it's my relationship to God and my relationship to myself and my relationship to my mother and my father. Yes, sir.
How do you evidence that relationship with God in terms of viewing the iris?
Louder, please.
Say it again, Laura.
How do you-
have to say it louder.
How have you evidenced the relationship with God in terms of the viewing the iris?
I'll meet you halfway. Well, camera in the way. We can do it?
Have you been able to...
Come. This is what it's about for me, right? Here, you first. Let's be fair about this. There you go. Look in there. It's all right, you'll find it. That's everything. That's all my relationships to women. My left eye is feminine, relationship to women. My right eye is masculine, and all the issues about masculinity and fatherhood. And those things.
So where is relationship to God in all of that?
I'm having a talk to God here for a moment. I mean, through this experience of learning to feel, appreciate, recognize, honor, respect, love, just minutely more, this one soul, this is my relationship to God. To love Him is to share and experience my love of God. So if I want to love God, then I've got to be willing to get right down here and feel it and practice it. I don't want to be academic. I want to feel it, right? I don't want to be afraid to feel it. So you asked me about the relationship of this diagram on the wall to the iris. That diagram on the wall is in the iris. Everything that you see there is composing the rings, the structure of everything that you saw. And so why don't we do this? Why don't we return back to the irises? I believe we have
7 more. Oh, thereabouts.
Does that work for you? Does that answer your question?
I don't know, not quite. I mean, I do agree in terms of feeling.
Help me understand. You could educate me.
You monitored your own iris through your development as you received God's love. Have you noticed any changes in your iris physically?
I have photographs of my eyes many years apart, and the only thing I can say photographically that really distinctly photographically changed is the overall clarity, and it's gone from a darker color to a lighter color. It looks a little bit more blue now than it did 35 years ago. The exact individual positions, no. These are the things I would like to see, and I think it requires me to have the humility enough to be able to reach my causal feelings in my own soul, and that's really what I'd like to learn to do. That's how I use it. Now, I've gone away from the iris at times for as much as 10 years. I refused for a while. I stopped doing it because I wanted to relate to people more as they are now, So I went more into the family sequences and the birth order. I wanted to understand and realize. I went into examining older people. I did my best to examine a whole series of the oldest people I can find. And I'm on a journey. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Comment than a question, but it feels like to me that we're trying to get from you all the intellectual knowledge about what it means, like what the I means and how it relates to soul and God. But for me, you're a person that what I can feel is this feeling of you just want to learn to love by looking at people's eyes. And this really overwhelms me so much because you're passionate about the human and the individuality that God put into all of us to know God. And it just overwhelms me because I want to thank you so much for
Thank me, I didn't make
the
decision.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yes. There have been so many times I've done that with somebody and just started crying. I look in there, feel them. We just have this moment and it just flows. And it's not about the words or the positions or how to make anything better or what's wrong with you. It's just one soul to another, right? And it's literally at times, it's this kind of experience. May I? Cool, huh? I mean, how often do we do that? We don't really get a chance. We had our moment, didn't we? She had a consultation. It was a joy. That's what I would like, really. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a moment and keep a commitment. My commitment is to tell the truth, and I'm not always good at it. I have a tendency to avoid. I have a tendency to compromise all too often. I have a tendency not to say something I should say when I... So on the videotape made in Brazil with AJ and Mary, Mary kind of stepped in at the end and asked me a question about, would you explain how you got into this? Which she knew because the day before I had told them both, and she just wanted me to put it on camera, and I couldn't do it. I froze up in that moment, and I just had too much fear, was embarrassed, ashamed. So I just wrote her back and said, I'm really sorry, you asked for the truth, and I didn't do it. So you ready? No.
We are you.
I'm not sure I'm ready, but okay. When I was 29, I was in the mountains. I was alone, backpacking, put my pack down, looked across this valley about 100 meters away, and there was a small tree that was perhaps 3 meters high. There was a bright light on one of the bottom branches of this tree. Just so you know, this is all without any substances of any forms, and I hadn't fallen on a rock or whatever. I have no excuses. And I walked toward this bright light on the bottom of this tree. And what I got from maybe here to the wall from that tree, I could see that the tree was on fire. But it was not a normal fire. It was a fire that was burning away something of a veil. And as the veil began to open with this fire, I could actually see into the molecular structure of the tree in the greatest form of clarity that you could imagine. And as it opened further and further, I could see that there was a thin, dancing thread of living golden fire that was circulating everywhere, and every single thing had a connection to this most beautiful, radiant, golden fire, and it made music that is beyond the description of the human ear. As it opened further, the thing that I will remember, and it always touches me, the light. The light that has no shadow. Under nothing there is shadow. Everything has the light. there are no shadows anywhere. The light that has no shadow is a profound, pure, crystalline light. In the experience of this, I recognize that every single rock and blade of grass, tree and mountain had an exactly perfect place in the continuum of the order. Everything was exactly where it was intended to be. As this fire opened more, it began to open into the sky. As it opened into the sky, it opened the clouds. The clouds were still there, but on the clouds, in 360 degrees around me, were these most radiantly beautiful, angelic beings. No feathers anywhere, no wings, just pure humanoid structures of little ones, big ones, and they were all around in 360 degrees, and all at once they shouted, "One has returned to the Father." I fell to my knees. I sobbed. I'm not worthy of this. Boys came and said, this is grace. The light around me got so much stronger. I thought it would burn my eyes. I put my hands on my eyes, only to discover there was a light inside my head 10,000 times brighter than the sun. This light right in the middle of me, I had no eyelids to protect myself from it. And I looked into it and I saw the face of God. And in that moment, I exploded. I went across the universe and became simultaneously, instantly aware of every single star in creation and every ray of light that had ever left that star. In that moment, every single question ever thought of or conceived from the beginning of time to the end of time was all simultaneously answered. Then, silence. Eternal silence. It's over. I'm back. I scream at the top of my lungs, please don't leave me here. Ah, they left me here. There is nothing to describe the level of the despair. I've not ever experienced that deeply personal level of despair, of feeling that level of separation. Of knowing that it exists, it's right here in front of me, but I am totally blind, I can't see it, I can't touch it, the music is gone. All the questions came back like a simultaneous avalanche, and they brought a lot of friends with them. So not only did all the questions come back, all the confusion, doubt, personal, so I changed. I immediately went into begging God to take me. So I started fasting. I started first, I fasted a week and then eat a few days on raw food. I was a raw food fanatic. And I fasted and fasted and fasted 3 weeks, 5 weeks at a time, eating only raw foods, laying down 10 or 12 hours a day and begging every single hour, every single minute, get me out of here, please. I know you're here. I want to go home. Ah. Then one day, an iris formed, very clear, inside my head. And I said, I'm not interested in mental illusions. I want to go. The iris stayed. It was like an Aussie mosquito. Go away. But it wouldn't go away. And it would change occasionally. This went on for several months. And then one day a voice spoke through the middle of my chest. It said these words. If you want to know me, know my children. If you want to love me, love my children. I knew instantly what it meant. Sorry, what you're doing is not the right way. No, starving yourself to death won't work. Celibacy is not the answer. Right? Fasting is not it. That's just not it. The gift I'm giving you is the eye. I'm supposed to use the eye to get close to people. Well, like some of you, I'm the naturally rebellious type, and I said, come on, can't you give me anything else? I mean, no, him? You want me? Surely you've got to be kidding. You want me to know her? Him? I mean, those people? Those that do all the damage, that cause the wars, that do the pollute, that you want me? Give me something else. How about fish? No, literally, I asked for something else. So I went back to waiting every single day for hour upon hour, begging, give me something. The eyes kept coming. And then after another 2 months, with the force of thunder through the middle of my chest, if you want to know me, know my children. If you want to love me, love my children. I said, fine. Show me. Now came a waterfall of irises cascading down on the inside of me, and I saw glimpses of people, situations, and I could not comprehend it. Gradually, I saw two major patterns, the little brown dot and the open web. I had just two. And then gradually, I started coming out and I started looking. It was very hard for me to look because in my family with my father, you never looked my father in the eyes. You always kept your head down. So for me to come up and, look in the eyes was a heart-pounding experience to do that. And after about a few times doing this, well, someone said, you must be an iridologist. What's that? Well, that's people who look at the eyes. Go down to the health food store. They have this blue book down there that talks all about it. I was disappointed. It's already been done, right? So I go down to the health food store, pull this book off the shelf, and open the pages, and I almost vomited right in the store because it was talking about the dirt and the garbage, and it talking about all the defects and things wrong, and mental diseases, and parasite droppings in the brain. And because it wasn't at all what I saw. What I saw was the divine cathedral of one individual soul. I mean, I want to go see souls. I don't want to go see, pit stop damage. Got it? So I found out an iridologist, went to an iridologist and paid to get my eyes. Oh, you have a camera? Cool. I started to pay people $10 each to get their eyes photographed, just so I wouldn't have to look at them. So it's true. I got the photographs, went back to my apartment, and was just utterly fascinated by it all. But I didn't really want to have the human experience, so people began to ask me, what'd you see in my... And then according to a natural law of attraction, here came my teachers. Every time I started to examine a place, I'd go, God, come on, you brought this, so I want to know what this is. And here comes my first 3 clients with exactly that position, and I learned. And this is how I learned the positions of the eye. And I recognize that my understanding is filtered through all the damage of my own being, right? So there's nothing I know about the structure of the eye that's pure. You got that? I don't have any claim of clarity and purity on this because I'm still me, and I'm in the midst of all of my causal stuff, about all of my causal stuff, and all the things I do, and I'm just practicing to get in there and feel it. That's how I got into eyes. I first started out, I had this thing about the, I'm not going to charge anyone, right? Boy, that didn't work very well. After about a month, I'm sleeping in my car. I couldn't pay my rent, right? If it wasn't for a few friends loaning me a few dollars along the way, I don't think I would have made it. Then someone said, here, let me just give you $10 for gas, right? And then gradually I started charging because I wanted to go further, do more, until gradually, I'm charging, $300 an hour for the right to someone to talk to me. I never felt good about that. Hello? Yes, ma'am.
What took you to the bush? What took you to? Is there any significance in what took you to that place where you had that experience? Was there something in your life that... A question?
No. I was just, at that moment of my life, I was just earnestly seeking an answer. Why be here? My life was really composed of how to leave, really, more than stay. In the process of doing this, I had experiences of seeing other levels. I had a really hard time explaining to people that on the levels I saw, there were houses, there were trees, so it couldn't have been heaven, right? I saw architecture unlike any architecture on earth. The most beautiful, radiantly beautiful houses and things. So I thought maybe I was seeing another dimension of reality or a planet. How would you explain the beauty of it? Because certainly it can't be heaven. Aren't we supposed to be just wispy little puffs of smoke circling around, singing holy, holy, holy? No? No? So I really deeply appreciated the opportunity to do this. So for 7 years, I traveled in the U.S. from place to place, from town to town, and then I got invited to Canada, and then I got invited to Europe, and now I've made 50 trips around the world and 25 trips to Australia. That's right, you gotta be nuts to come to this country 25 times.
Leave. And not stay.
5 times. Yes. Now, by the way, my reason for doing all that was the avoidance of personal responsibility game with my father. We want to go into all of it, or if we just leave it at that, for now. It's personal issues, it's that father, self-worth, this little stuff. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Like, when did you start believing in God, or did you always have a relationship with God?
I remember the first time.
What was the question? Sorry.
The question was, have you always believed in God, and what was your first experience, or something like that, right?
It's like, have you had a relationship with God ever before?
I've had a few moments where, if I could, I'd have kicked him in the kneecaps. I tried a few times, but that's another story. When I was about, my mother was a religiously devoted woman, and we went to this tiny little Holy Roller Pentecostal church, not any bigger than, this is big, not half the size of this room, and it was all about, singing and screaming and yelling and how God is going to beat you up and throw you in hell and all those. It was not easy, that environment, right? That was my original experience. And when I was about 3, I remember the time that my mother was her arms were up and she was singing and praying to God. And I looked up and something just went through me, through my mother, and that was my first contact with God. And then I went into rebellion. I remember the exact day I went into rebellion. It was we went to school, we went to church 3 times a week, and went to Sunday school on Sunday morning and service on Sunday night. And the Bible was, basically, jammed down your throat, page by page. And there was this one study where they were talking about how the Israelites entered the Holy Land and they slaughtered everything, right? And I remember asking the question because does that mean they killed the animals? Yes, they killed everything. Well, they killed the dogs. I had a dog. Forget it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to kill my dog. I mean, that was a child thing. God's going to kill my dog. It's okay to kill me, but my dog. So much past the age of 16, I went away. But God's always been a friend at some level, but I developed a rage with God. I did. I was just mad because I was angry about look what you did. Aren't you any smarter than that? I mean, okay, this is what I went through. Questions of that? That was my relationship, and now it's a different kind of relationship. I've had the opportunity for different kinds of experiences, and I have an unconditional trust. And then, when I was examining, just 2 weeks ago, I was examining the chart that AJ talks about causal feelings and fear and anger and addictions and facade and denial and that sequence. Is that the right sequence? Yeah. Okay. And I got up to the level of denial. And normally I would just deny the denial, right? Well, it couldn't possibly be me, right? What would I be denying? And then I asked God, and I got it. Oh, duh. I'm in denial 100% of the time. We're not talking about part of the time out of denial. I'm in denial 100% of the time. If I weren't in denial, I'd be one. Yeah. I just don't know that levels of denial are so deeply embedded in me somewhere that I'm not. So now I'm asking, show me my denial. Where I'm denying joy, laughter, play, innocence. Show me where I'm denying my hurt, anger, hate, rage. Show it to me. So I'm a denial guy now. I'm focused on denial because that's the reality. That's what I'm doing. So at this moment, I've kind of given up on the causal feeling stuff. It's like, for me, it's been like trying to dive with water wings on, or a life preserver. You ever try to get down there? And I just can't get there. So okay, if I'm going to denial, I might as well stay in denial for a while. This is one of the questions I wanted to ask him. Is it okay if I just focus on my denial for a while? Is it?
No, I think it's just...
I do. It's okay. What do you think?
I feel it's okay.
Is it?
Yes.
Because that's what I'm doing. It must be my desire. I must have a desire for denial because denial is what I'm doing, right? So I might as well just go into it and lay around on it for a while. That's good.
No, I just want to say you accept your denial. You just accept.
I don't want to accept it. I want to feel it.
Feel it, okay.
I'm going to accept it. Now I'm going to get in there and... That's just me. That's how I like to do things. Other questions? What time is it? We have eyes to do.
That's nice.
Let me ask you, are you okay with all this so far?
Yeah.
I'm not going to like... this is my just need to have confirmation, please, you know, like stuff. You know, actually, I
give you some applause.
No, it's more like this. I'm afraid, hold me, not you. No, wait, I'm in terror, let me sleep with you. I mean, how many layers of that could, okay. Excuse me, not you. Nice scar you got on your mother's knee there.
You might say nothing.
Rochelle.
I'm still confused about that whole thing. Do you have like a printout or information that kind of breaks down the 1s, 3, 5, like, well, how did you do? Yeah. Because I felt like the whole room kind of went into weird. Confusing about it.
You know what? One of my favorite things to do at night in Brazil when there's no one, because I've been for 3 months. I've been alone on this farm much of the time. There are people that come during the day, and there are people that come on weekends. You know, and at night I like to go through each one of these again and again and again and again. I like to feel them. You want to? One of my favorite ones lately for humility is I like to find the smallest white root on the bottom of a blade of grass, and on that tiny little hair root absorb a single molecule of water. I like it. So I find things and I like to feel this. God, show me how to feel. Who else is going to show me how to feel? Whew. Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps these are obvious things to say, but what you're talking about with the iris is really interesting and fascinating, but I'm really deeply impacted by how open you've been about your journey and what you've just talked about how God's touched your life. That's encouraging for me, personally. I feel at the moment, for the first time in a long time, my heart really open, because I felt at times in my life that God's touched my life too, and I felt my form of rebellion and not understanding and not knowing and having to reach towards faith because I don't really know what it is that I've been shown. And in you being so open and sharing what you wouldn't share with Mary but you've shared with us, I feel encouraged, and I just wanted to say that to you. Thank you.
I shared it with Mary and AJ privately the day before. We had some nice moments about it. He said I was not overcloaked through the experience, and it was something akin to a blessing. I don't remember his exact words. And there have been other ones. And I told you I quit when it comes to the experience of wanting to save the world. I quit. You know, and then in the last 3 months, I have read Through the Mist and the other 2 books. Something about Through the Mist touched me. You know, it's my favorite of the 3. And yeah, it makes a difference what people know. It does make a difference, the simple things we say. And can we make a very, very small difference going in the world, saying something, doing something, taking the courage and the risk to take an action, make mistakes, fall down, get up, get hurt, get angry, get frustrated, and go back again? What else can we do? So I decided to go back and go to work again. For me, really, AJ had a lot to do with this. Go to work. You can do it. Do your passion and go. You know, I mean, at times I feel like I notice I need approval. Is this okay? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then I notice what his consistent answer is. Talk to God, do it yourself. Okay, that means talk to God, do it yourself, and make mistakes. Be willing to do it. Just stumble around, look silly, do it again. Right? Right? Who's this?
Oh, this is Dane.
Dane.
Serious.
Come on up. Is this one of the ones you have two eyes, or just one?
Yeah, no, I've just got the one.
So immediately what I do is I compare the iris structure to the body type. That's like when somebody walks up, I say, is this? Because there is usually a characteristic body type for this iris, and what do you see?
It's in the hairs, kind of looks a little bit like where those veins are for, where the lines of energy, those balls where all the lines of energy come out when you put your hands on them. You seen them?
No, but I like the feeling. Explain that ball again.
It's like just a ball with like energy inside it, and when you put your hands on it, the electricity goes to your fingers.
Fortune teller.
Follow your hands with it.
Works for me. You can buy these?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Feel like one. The other one?
I've just got the one.
Just the one. So let me ask you, what do you see? Remember, there's basically two types. These two types break into 6 different parts of 2 types. There's usually the ones who have either the open web type experience or the brown dot. So is he a pointed, oriented, thinking, I've got to know and I have an opinion about it? Or is he a... You got that? Yeah. So, to honor him is to feel that. Yes, we can go into, this is the right eye, we can go into these individual positions. This is the anger issue on the father's side, this is the loss of nurturing, you know, the typical rebellion stuff and a few other fun things. Let me just look on the female side, because with this kind of eye, it's very important. Right out. One of the other things I like to do is I look at the hands, because a hand to me is an eye. Everything I see in an eye is on a hand, right? Because everything here is everywhere, right? So everything in the model here is the model here is the model there, that's the model here. So I like to see the shape of the hands to see if it corresponds to what's in there. I look at the length of the fingers. While I'm here, I examine the skin because it relates to, it's an organ. It's one of the organs of cleaning. It cleans 30% of the body, and it's related to the pineal, or the pineal. Pineal is Portuguese, but pineal, right? So the organ is the skin, and the gland is the pineal. And when I look at the height of where he is and the shape of his body, this is a 6-boy structure. This is the biggest, strongest physical boy. Pretty close to there, Bob. This is almost like a 4-boy structure. It's just slightly different, more energy in the chest. This is the joy, laughter. This is the brotherhood celebration type, right? So this body type tells me where they are in the line. These guys are more over here in this level. this angular side of the body tells me that he's over here on this side and his primary capacities, I would guide him here. For these guys, I would guide them here. Because their body types are different and that reflects what their lessons are that they're learning. So I look at the iris, and I come over here and we can talk about, thanks guys, this one. So these 3 lessons are very important for him. Humility, it's important for everyone. But this last one, based on the body type and the eye structure, I know that I've got some kind of artistic Michelangelo in here. Some creative capacity to, he has something. It's like, yo, Nick. I want to see your creativity, your art, and all. What I suggest you do is pray for more of this one. Desire, choose, free will. Just saddle up and go. If you have any doubts, he likes to saddle up and well, he likes to go before he saddles up. You got it?
Yeah.
Now, most commonly, what you get when you have one of these is you get one of those women out there who has a natural tendency to and then some of your emotional issues about, well, you know how you feel about that, being controlled by anyone. Yeah. Good luck. Cheers. Is that so difficult? Really? You start by learning the basic structure, add a few things to it, and it really clarifies, and what it does is honors and feeds. I don't know what his own natural ability is, but I can get a shotgun in the general direction, right? And then love him, and he has to do his own choice about what exactly it is. He's got to make his own sun rise. When he exercises his free will to choose, then he has passion. Right? Then he's going to have the force that moves him through and harmonizes his blood and calms his heart and makes him want to go. Questions? Yes, Tim?
Yeah, but I'm really curious now. So if you are given two sets of eyes, of photos, and 2 people, could you pick which eye photo goes to which person? Or is that too...
You know what? I try not to misuse this, and I try to just use it for good things. Except one night, 2 guys in black trench coats came to my house. And they were obviously well, you'd guess it, the government type. And they wanted to know, can you use the structure of the eye to pick fighter pilots?
What?
Pilots, fighter pilots. But you know, you could just guess what my attitude was. Even if I could, I wouldn't help you. Which just shows you my father stuff, right? Just like authority issues, you know. I could have had a better response, learned a few things. I refused to help him. Next. I also had guys come to me that wanted me to take racehorses. Now, if you could see the eyes of the best racehorse in the country, could you know how to... No. Ah, who's this?
Anto.
Ah, who's this?
Anto.
Anto.
Your friend.
Ah, come on up here,
before.
Come on. Ah, Mami-san. Ah, my little ninja. Ah, Okay, now wait. What I'm saying is his natural thing is he has the capacity for I want to understand, realize, focus, clarify, I need the details, I'm seeking, I question, well, by the way, this is your rivalry competition function on the masculine side, that if I were going to war, I'm taking you. But, okay, I don't do that war anymore most of the time. You got this? This is your rivalry competition. Sometimes this thing that's in there that really wants to, and it's on the father side, maybe father, maybe brother, protective father that also did this but did this. So somehow you learned something like that. This is also what I call voice and command. So you have the capacity to use your voice and your authority to move, command, and direct. Challenge is how do you do this? How do you recognize that at times your way of presenting yourself can have a tendency to lead with a barb before it comes to softness. So it can, just the very nature, the very subtle way that you can ask a question or you can look at somebody, you can hurt somebody by looking at them. Are you aware of that? So sometimes this helps us to see what is our most probable way that we do unloving things. And then likely, what is the way that it arrived through the father's family and so on and so on. We can go through each one of these individual variations in the fiber. Look at this line here, which is the loss of, I'm going to see your hands for a second. While I'm here, I check several things. I check the temperature of his hands to see is it warm or hot, is it dry or wet. So that tells me again about how his body and nervous system is handling what he has. So where is he now? I take the thumbs and I look at the half moons of the thumbs and I notice that his right half moon is significantly lower than his left half moon. So it tells me that the mother side pulls him more and the father side he has a reaction on the male side. So he's basically on the right brain side of his thinking capacity to discover. Got all that? Now, to do this well takes much longer than this. Got the idea? You get to see yourself in a new way. So, as a boy, all the way through my early 50s, one of my favorite things to do was fish. You know, I still like sushi. I'm getting over it. One of my favorite moments is when a very good rainbow trout comes out of the water with this kind of sparkling glee. Do you recognize the joy of discovery that you have? That this sparkling glee to penetrate the citadel of truth with a light green sword? You are searching. Searching. Yeah. I don't bother with searching anymore. I just want the Get that? I mean the entry into the experience of the discovery. This no. Not 77. My suggestion is ask God. Go.
I know what you mean, Denny.
Like when he found something, like to just get that spark again with what you found to, is that what you're trying to say? With
you are his partner.
I was just trying to say
That moment, what you're trying to explain, like that's all. Like,
Are you saying that your issues with your mother are equal to his issues with his father?
no, I'm trying to say that
They're
saying with the green,
they're not.
green sword is that you're talking about. Sorry.
The math is usually always very perfect. So you recognize his relationship issues about masculinity and all those things relative to masculine gates. You see those, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about that last bit that you were saying.
Yeah,
the passion, desire thing.
But come on up. Oh, this ought to work really well. Oh, all right, let me be fair about this. First, I want to look in the eyes and make sure I'm not missing something. All right, ready? Ready. Okay, I'm going to help you with the basic constitutional structure that's not easy to see here is how much you have the dramatic capacity for emotion, right? This position here is along the line we call impatience on the father's side. So you learned how to have a rhythm and a tempo and to do things just right and always keep it moving and do it really well, right? Now, you have to be careful when you do this all the time with this, right? That your timing and your rhythm and you do it right, and by the way, I'm going to tell you about it. Have you given that one up yet? Where you don't throw these like, get it. You gave that one up? No, you're not ready to give it up. You want to keep it? Okay. You can go ahead and keep it.
I don't want to keep it.
It's up to you. Don't ask me. Not between. That's this one position. What it means is that your timing and rhythm from your father was, you were taught that you just get moving and do it right. Oh, by the way, you're not quite good enough to where you are. If you want anything, work hard. So you have a natural capacity to work hard and touch and nurture and by the way, no, don't stop. You're not good enough now. No, keep going. You're not good enough. It's okay. You don't have to apologize for nothing, because guess what? You are good enough exactly the way you are. Those who have this particular position, they were told, never stop, never rest, keep moving. You're not good enough the way you are. Practice harder, push. If you want to be, if you want to receive my love, you have to keep getting better. You're not perfect, and by the way, you should be perfect. So you should expect him to be perfect. Hallelujah. Are we okay? All right.
Do you want to see the left or move on?
Oh, by the way, what I'm mostly interested in doing is to work with a group of spiritually sensitive people, who are willing to examine, move, go there, find some way, pray, ask. I recognize that there's a place where I have to accept the responsibility for myself. I have to be willing to do my relationship to God alone. But there's some places I really can't do some things completely alone. I can't learn to love my brother. Sometimes it's easier to learn my brother when there's a brother around. So I want to practice at times learning how to love someone else. I have to do my work, but I want to learn how to love more by sharing that part of me with my brother Now, I don't know how to do this. You got it. What I feel like doing is I'd really like to do the work that AJ has opened for us and find some way to move this stuff. And I asked him when he was in Brazil, can we be involved in some other activity to open up a causal feeling? Can Can I do deep tissue massage to evoke a feeling that I might not otherwise know I have? Yes. Can I be engaged in the use of medicinal herbs or go to open up my liver to help me feel my anger and my hate? Yes. Is it possible to do more things? Do I wait for the law of attraction or compensation to arrive according to a natural plan? Or do I ride out to meet it? Can I move, sing, laugh, dance, fast? Can I do things that I would otherwise call natural love techniques in harmony with my love of God? This is what I need to know. Can I pray and ask and beg and also dance?
Yeah.
Can I sing my heart open a little more?
Yeah.
I don't want to get too happy. Right? Who's this? Ah, who's the cuddle monster? Okay. Now, I'm saying cuddle monster because the density of the fiber all the way around is a normally tactile experience. Normally tactile. The brown dot in a couple of positions means it has a specific kind of way it uses its mind at specific times. This is your right sciatic, right hip, lower back issue functions about self-worth and little things like that, right? And this one has to do with the issue of the number 6. We're talking about you came up with the right answer. Do you have the second one? Let's see. We go into Father Anger loss thing. Are you in a relationship? Is she here? May I look?
Who are you asking?
If you really wanted to know this woman, I would suggest you just know everything about her. Every little tiny fiber in there I would want to know and feel. That was the woman I was loving. I want to know every tiny feeling, fear, pain thing that she feels and try to feel it with her. Because there's got to be a mirror here somewhere where you're going to push her buttons and she's going to push yours, and most likely she's going to push these. Because these are your relationship patterns with your mother and women, right? We could go around line by line about this pattern of hurt and suffering in your mother's life, and how you go out the back of your head and leave your body too much when it comes to relationship to the female side. We could go into all the nuances and details. Are you coming for a consultation? You see, with some constitutional types, with all constitutional types, I like to change. I like to meet you according to the structure of the iris in combination with the structure of the body. So there's a way I would like to be with you that's different than the way I would be with her or be with him. I'd like to meet that soul on their terms, in their way, and do my best to identify them, right? So I'm preparing you for something.
Wow.
Do I have your permission to be hard on you? We have a consultation. I'm not going to be easy. Okay? Cool. Next. Now, those of you who are looking here, do you know them just slightly better? When we know our brothers and sisters a little more, to me it feels like we have the opportunity to feel respect, love, just, yes, compassion, joy, laughter. We can play with them. You know, okay, my tendency at times is I like to play with them. I like to dance with them. I like to feel them different ways. I don't like to always be stodgy and stiff. And I wasn't looking at you, by the way.
So the next two pairs are Janine and Zenko.
Ooh. Who's this?
It's Janine.
Come up here. Do you have both eyes? Can I see the other one first? This is your mother relationship left eye, right? Oops, you just went back to your right eye. Oops, went to your left eye. Maybe a little, both knees start rocking here. But you remember that, how I said that the other one on the far outside, work hard, keep working, work, never stop. If you want my love, you're going to have to keep working, work. You got that message from Mother, right? This is the primary influence that says, you know, if you stop, I don't love you anymore. Well, this is the one that affected you the most. You have it on both sides, but the father's side is different. This one is quite challenging. This is your mother's worry tendency and what I call personal things around your early childhood with her. This is early childhood conception issues that we could talk about more. Private, I would prefer to do that in private. Right? This is your mother's pain and terror, but this is a good one. Well, they're all good. This is your ability to counsel women, your ability to be able to open someone by listening. Do you notice that in yourself? That you have a unique capacity to be able to communicate but open while listening. It's a sweet, rare ability, by the way. Back to the other one for a second. This one is the hurt, loss of recognition, approval function from the father. This is the impatient function, which is, this is really tough in a way. This is, this is, don't go anywhere, hurry up. Don't go anywhere, hurry up. And this is also a pattern you have to be careful that you don't do something like that with him. Is this can get into a pattern around possessive or jealous or fear about losing, or this is from the father side of the family. There's some things around the jealousy issue that have to come up. We can talk about this another time. On a physical level, this pattern out here, that you see this small clumping function on the outside, the little patches, this tells me that your innate ability has to do with the gift of compassion, which is a compassion for all living things. How old are you now here? When you say 50, I come over here, and I look what gates are opening for you now. How does that affect this? Right? If you were down here, that eye structure entering this, then that experience is really more important. If you were here, I talk about this, you're into this, we talk about this. How does this affect this? This is a sequence of where your life is. Now, if we do this one really well, it helps, right? This one is a physical level of concern. You have to be concerned for your own immune system, how it affects you. Make sure that your own immune system doesn't turn on you. Okay? I'm going to talk to you about how that works and why and how. Yes, it's an autoimmune challenge where your autoimmune system has a tendency to forget who's friend and foe. And it is the result of the autoimmune function is one particular area, and this particular area has anger, aggressive conflict that came down to you. This autoimmune function means that your autoimmune function can attack some place in your body. So we have to be careful that this doesn't hurt you and help you feel it before it happens. Right? We'll do it much better when we meet. All right? Boy, isn't that pretty cool? This pattern here somewhat matches his pattern there, matches your pattern there, and you know, like nut and bolt kind of fit into the same issue. You got to just do that one really well. Do you have his other one? You remember yours in the right eye? They're very similar. You've got some triggers that meet the triggers. And we'll talk about what those triggers are. But don't worry, he's just equally as impatient from his mother and the workaholic thing and pushing. But let me show you something. Come on up. You see how this ring is out here this far? But this color over the top? You have these other big bubbles. This means you have the capacity for dynamic celebration and joy of life. Where is it?
I'm doing it. I'm holding it back.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice. This is, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
You ever seen this before?
Just recently. I'll meet on someone else. Or
No, on the screen like this.
Not that close.
It's fun to be close.
Yeah, this looks really big.
You noticed?
It's really big.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's personal. It's a transgenerational issue that really you have to be careful that it really doesn't affect here, because that's right. Let me help you. The midline of the eye is the midline of the body, right? That's the midline. This is the midline right here is the midline. So in the left eye, and this is the left eye, it's the midline on the left. So this place here is right below the midline, and so it's right about in here, right? So it's a organ-wise, it's a pancreas function, pancreatic function, probably also leaning over into the spleen function, and a few other functions, but enough for now.
So it's generation, multi-generation.
Multi-generation.
So diabetes.
Yes.
So it's my left eye.
You got it on both sides.
Both sides.
Back to you.
It's a big one down lower. What was that? Right.
Okay. Let me help you. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. right down there. Yes. Right down in the deeper pits of the right side of your abdomen. Right down deep. So, I don't know if it would work, but I'd like to lay you down, put my elbow down there and push on it so hard you slap me. You don't have to slap me. Okay, you wouldn't do that. Okay, that's good. I think it's possible for us to bring up the memory. I don't know, we can find out.
Okay.
You know what?
What?
I'm liking you. It's okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Is that
Come
it?
on. Wow.
Oh, we have both eyes. This is Rick.
Rick.
Rick, is Rick still here? Oh, he went.
I'm not going to say anything about him leaving early. Am I? Okay. Let's see. This is an emotional feeling type. Oh, this is the guy who has it on both sides. I remember. Can we go to the next one?
Oh, it's gone.
You only have one?
Yeah.
You don't have the second one. I think I remember the second one was practically a flip side of this one. This emotional. This area here is this area here. This is probably one of the most challenging areas of the human body. Right in here. You got all the tough stuff of liver, gallbladder, emotion, reaction, anger, frustration, hatred, just the small stuff on this side. On the other side, jealousy, treachery, deceit, betrayal, the easy stuff, right? They're all right here. And we just know, like, okay, this is what I have, this is what I have to work with, let's go find it. Thank you. Because the reality is, once we clean it out, we get to be who we really are. We're not required to keep any of this, but we do need to accept the responsibility that we're given it for the opportunity to feel more. Okay, let's feel more and move on. Is that it?
That's the end of the slides.
Okay. There's a small, well, now I get to do my other passion, at least once. Would you mind?
No.
I'd love to do it. Well, actually, it's my next career. And I've been practicing for years. I used to go into my son's preschool when he was just 2 and 3, and I would go in every Friday and tell stories. And I started using the art of storytelling for children as a therapeutic instrument. So I began to write stories. If I looked at an iris of a child, I began to write stories that would match the lessons that they would learn later in life. You know, so what are the major lessons about fire and water and, you know, birds, animals? What are the major lessons that any of us have to learn? So I started going to schools and telling stories. And I love to do it because I just love to do it. I just love to sit there and see those, especially between 4 and 8. Right around 8 or 9, they, you know, like they're almost too cool for stories anymore, but it works sometimes. But between 4 and 8, it especially is effective for being able to move certain forms of lessons and certain sacred old stories, like the 3 Little Pigs, right? Do you know that they have the story of the 3 little pigs in places where they had no pigs? And they have no wolves, right? Now let me ask you, have any of you ever been chased by a wolf?
No.
Remember, if you want to make it to level 3, you have to tell me the truth. 100% of the time, right? Okay, now let's try it again. The symbol of the wolf is, has fear ever been chasing you? Okay, then, let's tell me the truth. Okay, this is, what do you do when a wolf is chasing you? For a child, this is fear. Something's chasing you, right? In the story of the 3 little pigs, what's the lesson? When fear comes at you, what do? Get stronger, increase your quality, go higher. Go from straw to sticks to bricks, right? And then by the time you get there, you join together with your elder brother pig, and you're all 3 together, and you got it? So that later on, when fear is coming, the child already has a paradigm inside of them for what happens when fear comes. That's why scary stories are sometimes important for children to be able to hear, because it helps them know how to resolve fear when they find those situations. I mean, Hansel and Gretel. Okay, come on, now, tell me the truth. How many of you have a fear of abandonment? Okay, we know the answer to that. Okay, we all do. I do, right? Now, how many of you would take your children into the woods and dump them off? Oh no, I never would. Right? But did you know that your children would be afraid, or automatically afraid, that one of the things that you would do would be to dump them? I'm sure my father would have dumped me. Actually, he did several times, literally in the woods, and came back, but hoping the bear had eaten me, but no, I had to go home anyway. I mean, I make a joke out of this, but it's true. Our parents transmit to us certain forms of fear, and one of them is the fear of abandonment. In the story, what happens? Boy saves girl, girl saves boy. They trick the witch. The witch is the fear, they throw the fear where? They go home rich. You remember the part of the story where they get gems, they eat all they want, and they go home rich? What was the fear that the parents had? Why did they take the kids to the woods?
They had no money to feed.
Had no money to feed them. Do any of you have a fear of poverty? Fear of not having enough? Right? So the children have these innate transference of these fears. So stories like this help them deal with the fear of abandonment in the dream state or the sleep state. I'm not sure, it's another question I have, is where do the stories circulate at when a child goes to sleep? Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. This really only works for children under 8. So you ready?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a hot, dry, rocky place. And in this place, there were only 2 things. Snakes. Well, big snakes, little snakes, lots of snakes. All these snakes were pure black. And there was one queen witch snake. She was the biggest snake of them all. And she ruled with absolute authority. She would go around, and her tongue was always going in and out, and constantly telling the other snakes what to do, how to do it, where to go. She had absolute control and authority over all of the other snakes. The one thing that she controlled most is what they would eat. Well, there was really only one thing to eat there. There were mice. The snakes kept mice as their prisoners underground. And they would go down, get the mice, and bring them up, and, well, you know how a snake eats a mouse. Head first. Children love that part, by the way. Could you imagine what it would be like to eat a mouse head first? Hair, guts, bones going down. Well, this was normally what the snakes ate all the time. One day, a mother snake brought a little tiny mouse to her young baby snake, and that young snake looked right into the eyes of that little mouse. You know what he saw? Peace. He looked in that little mouse. He saw peace. And he thought to himself, mice are nice. I will not eat them anymore. And he just promptly let that little mouse go. And the little mouse went back to the other mice who lived underground and said, "We have a friend. This one friend will not eat us." All the little mice had their little celebration. You know, they lived underground and they had these fruit trees. And all the fruit trees had different colors, different kinds of fruit. Well, the mother came back later and she realized that her young snake did not eat that mouse. She says, "You must eat mice." And he looked right in his mother's eyes and he said these words, "Mice are nice. I will not eat them anymore." Well, the mother got a little upset, went over to the queen witch snake and said, "I have this problem. My little snake is not eating mice." She said, "I can solve this problem." So she comes over and with her authority, she says, "You will eat mice." Well, that little snake looked her right in the eyes and said, "Mice are nice. I will not eat them anymore." Well, this was the first time anyone had ever defied the queen witch snake. And she just about lost it on the spot. There were little puffs of smoke coming out her ears, and her tongue started moving, and her eyes bulged a little bit, you know? And she just said, "Well, if you won't eat mice, you will starve to death." And she left. The mice heard this. We cannot allow our one true friend to starve. So at night, they would secretly take little pieces of fruit up to this, well, tell me the truth, which tastes better? Fruit or hair and guts and bones, right? So the little snake just loved fruit, right? So he just ate fruit all the time, and he was eating fruit of different colors. Well, guess what happened? He started having different colors, and pretty soon he had, he had red and orange and yellow and indigo and blue, and he had some white in there too, right? And then, he was growing really fast. He grew really fast, and he was just about the same size as the queen witch snake. And some of the other snakes were looking around going, "Wow, how can these, look at those colors. I want some of those colors. I mean, and what's he eating?" And he said, "No, I'm not." The queen witch snake comes over and says, "I'm going to put an end to this." She comes over and says, "I command you to eat mice." He looked her right in the eyes and he said these words, "Mice are nice. I will not eat them anymore." She just lost it. Fire came out of her ears, her eyes bulged, her jaw just started flapping, and all of a sudden she said, "Well, if you cannot be a snake, you're going to be a stick." And she just threw her magic at him. Well, instantly, that little snake, pretty snake, was a stick. She laughed and she walked away and said, "There can only be one ruler in the kingdom." She left. Well, all the mice came out. They cried. "This is our one true friend, gone." And magically, right out of the air, came this tiny, tiny, tiny little fairy. She had the sweetest little dress on, and she had this little, little, tiny little magic wand and the prettiest voice that you could ever imagine. And she said, "I am the fairy of the mice. I cannot change the magic of the queen witch snake, but I can add to it just a little bit. You will be a stick, but you will be a living stick, and you will live forever." 10,000 tiny little stars came out of her magic wand, entered into the stick, and the stick began to breathe. Then the fairy said to the mice, at exactly 12 midnight, "Dig a hole, stand it upright, add a little water." And they did exactly that, and guess what happened? That little stick started to grow, and grow, and grow, and grow. And by sunrise, that little stick was as big as this room and a giant, beautiful tree. All of the mice, they got their cell phones? No. All of the mice, they got pieces of their fruit trees and they climbed the tree because, in that tree, no snakes can climb that tree. They are safe. So they went up that tree and they planted their fruit trees on all the branches, and they had red and orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo and violet, and at the very top they had the white fruit. Well, the queen witch snake, she heard about this thing called the tree. I'm going to get rid of this thing. She came over, she built up her strongest, biggest magic, she threw it at that tree, and a branch fell off the tree, hit her right in the head. She died instantly. But you see, there can only be one ruler in the kingdom. Well, this was a very, very, very long time ago. And now, all of us, we live in that very same tree. Whether we know it or not, there's fruit all around us. Red and orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and at the very, very top of that tree, white fruit. That white fruit is so special. If you get just one drop on your tongue, you live forever. And that's the story of the snake that became a stick. Got it? It is so much fun for 20 or 30 little kids. And you just get to meet their eyes. I'm going to give you one more short little story. It is one of my favorites. And this is the kind of story that they come back year after year and they give me answers. You ready? Once upon a time, there was a mother and a daughter. They lived in the forest and they lived all alone. And sometimes they would just start this little argument thing, and sometimes mother and daughter as well, this happens. And then this mother and daughter were fighting one day because the young girl was lying to her mother. Mother said, "You've been lying to me about these things." And she said, "No, I haven't." And she runs outside and she shouts through the window, "Witch!" Yes, she called her mother, which you really shouldn't call your mother a witch. She slammed the door and she ran into the forest. She ran so far she got lost. The sun was going down, it was getting late. Now she really wanted her mother. "Oh, mother, mother!" But she did not hear her mother, but she heard the voice of another woman. "Over here, little girl." What was she going to do? It's getting late. She had to do something. She moved toward the voice, and there was a figure of a woman in a hooded black robe. "Give me your hand, little girl." Wasn't quite sure whether she should or not, but she held out her hand, and wow, this woman grabbed her, pulled her over. "I'm a real witch." And she opens up a door in the side of the mountain, big iron door, opens the door, throws the little girl in and slams the door. The little girl rolls all the way down to the bottom, you know, and what's down at the bottom, but ugh, those little sticky things and things you can't see. It's dark, it's a little slimy. None of you would really want to be at the bottom, would you? And so the little girl started climbing up this little tiny staircase, and she got almost to the top. She could see the light. But standing in the light was a giant two-headed snake. And both of these heads, they spoke at the same time, and they were identical. And they said, "Little girl, you're in trouble. You know you can't go down. The only way is up. But you have to come through us. But you should know, we eat little girls. But we're going to give you one chance. One head always tells the truth. The other head always tells a lie. Now, if you can tell us which head is telling the truth, we will let you go by. But if you make a mistake, we're going to eat you." Okay. I would prepare to leave. And you go, wait, what's the end of the story? You know, well, you have to help me because you have to tell me. How do you know the truth? Which head's telling the truth? So, what do you think? Which head tells the truth? And, yes?
The one that can look you in the eye.
And my answer is always the same. That's a really good answer, but I think there's a better answer. That's a really good answer, but I think there's a better answer. Next time I come back, I would like to hear some more answers. And for 8 years, that one group, even before my son moved on, they would always, I know. It's the one that smiles. No, it's the one, no, it's the, you get it? The goal is to send them on the journey to find the truth, right? To remind them to find the truth. There's always a better answer. It's find the truth. What is the truth? And I'll have to give you my favorite answer of all. A busload of kids came to the farm where I used to live in Colorado, and they would come from the local school, and they would come out and see the farm, and they would get their cookies and their apple juice, and I would tell them stories, right? Little Riley is this little 4-year-old. He's just this tiny little guy, just the smallest little 4-year-old you could ever imagine. His father was also very small and was a national bull riding champion, and he's just this tough little kid, but he has a clear little mind. And I was his wrestling coach, and he would go, "Coach, I know the answer." "Okay, Riley, what's the answer?" He said, "Lie begins with an L. So the one on the left also begins with an L. So the one on the left is lie. The one on the right begins with an R, and R is right. So the one on the right is right." I cried. And I had to follow the rules. "Riley, that's a really good answer." You know, I think there's a better answer. I'd like to know what his answer is now. So, questions before we say goodnight? Yes, my dear. I can't hear you.
Are you still doing sessions with people one-on-one? Like, is there still time? Or...
I believe it's booked.
There's 3 people currently on the waiting list for a one-on-one consult, so I can add you to that.
So I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come, feel you, be with you for a little while, actually speak English for a day. Boy, that's been a long time. You know that no matter where we go, we take each other. Right? So you are welcome to stay and have a bite to eat or ask other questions privately. I'll be around. And what I would like to do is I would like to find a way to work with a group of dedicated little troopers who together we work on each other, we explore all of the possibilities, we use every modality we know of, beginning with our love for God and asking for help, and then we do anything that comes. That's what I would like to do. Looking for a place to be able to occasionally come back and visit and do that. I'm also going over to near Brisbane. I'm working with a community there, which is a very unusual community. It's a monastery. It's a cloistered community that was established in the late 1950s. They moved in from England. And their primary purpose for establishing that cloistered, rather communal existence in a hierarchical religious order. Their primary purpose was to build a place for Jesus to be born. And I heard that 20 years ago. Oh yeah, right. Oh sure. He's gonna be born in Australia. Ooh, little did I know. So they're slowly opening up to the truth. They're heavily involved in their own belief systems. I'm moving over to Canberra and spending also some time in Armidale, and my goal is to keep doing what I'm doing. And those of you who've had your eyes photographed, I urge you to keep these photographs handy, and let's do some work and see if we can actually do what's possible. I want to say thank you to Samantha for having the courage to allow me to come and for facilitating all this. It's been quite the remarkable adventure. And Trisha, she's doing what she does well.
Thanks, Trish.
The ever-present, focused Igor. Thank you. So be it. I'm done. Good night.